Hello, everyone. This is Krista with Wasatch Travel. For those that tried to log on earlier, sorry, we were having a few technical difficulties, but I think we have it figured out now. So today I am live with Lindsay Julie from Trek Travel. We're going to learn about bicycling trips around the world. Really excited about this. Before we start, I just want to remind you that you can go to wasatchtravel.com. And on the homepage, you can sign up for our trip giveaway, which this year is 3-day trip to the Kaanapali Beach Hotel in Maui. So make sure that you sign up there at wasatchtravel.com. And then I'm going to try to bring in my guest here. Just give me a second while I do that. We have some new software updates, and so trying to figure out how to get this to work. Hang on one second. Okay, so I'm bringing on Lindsay. Lindsay, there we go.
We did it.
We did it. A little bit clunky this morning, but we made it.
We made it. Welcome, everybody, and thanks so much for having me, Krista. I'm excited to chat about our trips.
Great. So go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, just to give you a little bit of background on Trek Travel. Trek Travel began back in 2002. We were originally born from Trek Bikes, the bicycle brand. So because of that, we are able to provide really high-end bikes on our trips, as well as really deliver on being the cycling experts. So we just do cycling vacations. We don't do walking tours or hiking tours, though you certainly can experience that on some of our trips. But each trip will have at least some aspect of cycling involved. But when we first began, we actually started in Tuscany and California wine country, and now we've expanded to over 60 different destinations around the world. One of my personal favorites is our Provence trip, and certainly one of our most popular. And Krista, if you can get the video working to give you, everybody a little taste of Provence, we can show you that here in a moment.
Okay.
So that was just a small taste of one of our trips. Most of our trips are not just doing the cycling, but we will include other activities off the bike as well, such as wine tastings or truffle hunting or cooking classes with local chefs. So there are several different styles of trips that you can select, but majority of them will include some of those activities off the bike. And we have 2 different levels of trips that you can select from in terms of the accommodations. One level is explorer level trips, and that is going to be staying at 3 to 4 star boutique properties and has more downtime for you to truly go explore on your own. And then we have luxury trips, which is going to be staying at more elevated 4 to 5 star luxurious properties that have more amenities on site and typically include more in the trip. So if you'd rather not have to pull out your wallet as much on the trip, the luxury trips are a great way to go for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and just to kind of talk about a few things that differentiate us from some other companies. The first thing would obviously be the bikes. So Krista, if you want to, yep, there you go. So we have a couple different bike options for you to choose from. My personal favorite is the electric assist e-bike that is in this photo. It offers pedal assist, so it doesn't work like a moped. You still have to pedal, but there are 4 different levels of assist you can choose on a scale of 1 through 4. So if you just want a little bit of a boost, you can do that. Or if you really want to kick it into gear as you're going up a tough hill, it just allows you to go further than you normally would be able to, and maybe keep up with a spouse who's a stronger rider. And just a great way for maybe you to consider going on a cycling vacation if it's not something that you would have thought of before. If if you're like me and live in a very flat destination, it's a great way to ease some of those concerns. But if
I would
you're
definitely be using this system right now.
I'm using one myself, hopefully on our Costa Brava trip this fall. So you and me both. But then the other great option we have is a fully carbon frame road bike. It's the Trek Domani SL7. It is very lightweight and is a very high-end road bike. Because of that relationship, obviously with Trek, we're able to provide the best bikes in the industry. So that bike is going to be an option on majority of our trips as well. And it is very customizable. So if you have a very particular fit at home on your bike, we can actually get measurements from you in advance of the trip. And our guides are trained in comprehensive bike fit to make sure that you're comfortable before you head out on the first day's ride. So they'll spend some time with you in the morning on the first day just to make sure that you're comfortable. So speaking of the guides, we do pride ourselves on having some of the best guides in the industry. Inc. magazine actually ranked us as having the world's toughest hiring process because we really want to make sure we have the right people being the face of our company. So it starts with a series of interviews via Skype after they complete a pretty lengthy application. If they pass that step, they get invited to Madison, Wisconsin, where our head office is located. And our entire staff is actually involved in a full day hiring event where we put them through the ringer and test them on things like, their mechanic skills, their interpersonal skills, how they react in certain tough situations. We even put them through a picnic challenge where they have to get into teams and compete to put together the best picnic for us for lunch. And if they make it through that day, then they get sent out to California where they complete a 2-week training process. And only after that do they actually get an offer letter. So because of that, it really puts the right people and kind of weeds out those who might not be as serious about, being the best. So they do
the
things.
guides ride like right with you, or can you go off on your own?
Totally.
Are they with you throughout the day?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you'll be provided with a Garmin that will have all the turn-by-turn directions preloaded on there for you. Each day there'll be 2 to 3 different riding options to choose from that'll range from a shorter to a longer option, but they'll all start off together. And one guide will be on the bikes with you, leapfrogging between the different rider groups that form. So you can ride at your own pace. You don't need to stick with the group, but the guide will be there bouncing between how people spread out. And then the other guide is in a support van making sweeps on the route as well. So that van will be pulled over every 10 miles or so, where they'll have a really nice snack table out to refuel. They'll refill your water bottles for you. And it just, if you need anything from the van, you don't need to store anything with you on the bike. Anything that you want access to for the day, you can keep in the support van. And as it passes you by, you just stick out your arm and the van will pull over at the next safest spot to do so. So whether that's you need something from the van or you just want to get a boost up a tough hill, that's what the van is there for. So you'll be well supported.
So are you when you talked about picnics, are you eating along the way, or are you stopping at restaurants? Like, how does that work?
It'll be a mix. So some days the guys will be putting together an elaborate picnic for lunch, and then typically the shorter options will start or stop after lunch is over with, and they can get a boost back to the hotel. The longer options
have some free time. In the afternoon,
Exactly. Go relax at the pool, maybe go to the spa. And those who want to continue on after lunch would be, that would be more of the longer, more avid rides. We'll continue onwards. But some days we might be stopping at a cool bistro in town instead of doing a picnic. Other days it might be free. So you might have your choice of places to pick, and that would be on your own. So it is a mix in terms of what we do for the lunches. And then for dinners, majority of the dinners will also be included. There will be a couple nights typically on your own to go explore. But for those dinners, those tend to be a little bit more elevated experiences at nicer restaurants. And it's a mixture of both set menus as well as just order whatever you want on the menus. Just depends on the location and where we're staying.
Awesome.
So yeah, I was gonna say the next thing to talk about. So one thing that really sets us apart is that we do guarantee most of our trips, even after one person is booked. So if you have very inflexible dates and you want to just go ahead and get your deposit down on a trip, if you're the first people to book, that will guarantee the trip. And if you're going, we're going. And we'll always, if it's just one person, we'll still use 2 guides in that scenario to make sure that you still have great support. If you're looking for more of a group experience, we're always happy to provide you with demographic details and how many people are booked on a date. So if you're flexible with dates and want to pick one that already has several people booked, we can certainly help you out with that. And, let us know that.
That's a huge difference, because a lot of tour companies around the world, they only have specific dates that have guaranteed departures. So let's say you book in a year in advance, but there's not enough people to have that go, then they just say no. But you're saying no matter what, when you book, you're going to take them whether there's like a couple versus 20 people.
Exactly. And, we will do a courtesy call as we get closer to the trip. So just because we want people to know, if there's 3 or less people, we'll give you a call to say, hey, you're still just a couple of people. Do you want to switch to a different date? Are you quite happy to stay with the same one? Just so that you're not surprised and show up and you didn't know that there was only 2 of you.
Being the guide.
Some people pay a lot of money to have that experience, which is great. So it just depends on what your travel style.
If you're more social, then you might want to choose another date where there's more people. Exactly.
So we're happy to work with you on that if you did want to swap to a different date. The other big thing that sets us apart is we are an official operator for the Tour de France, as well as we will do trips around other pro races that are lesser known in Europe as well, such as the Giro d'Italia, the Strade Bianche, which those are in Italy, the Spring Classics. So what's cool about these trips is that because we're an official operator, we get special VIP access for you to do things like ride across the race course before the pros come through and get to take pictures on the podium. We have a special dedicated area by the stage finish lines where we'll sip champagne, and you have a live TV feed of the race as the riders are approaching, and you don't have to camp out all day in a crowd. You just have a dedicated
spot. That's a total VIP experience then.
Right. And we'll even do behind the scenes meet and greet access with the Trek Segafredo Pro Racing team. So if you're lucky, if there's a couple of riders available, they might stop by. You'll meet the team mechanics, do a tour of the team bus, and kind of get, behind the scenes and sort of this exclusive experience with the team, which is always really neat because, especially, the Tour de France, since it's such a big race, it depends on which riders might be available. But if you're going to some of those lesser known races that are not as intense, where it's, make or break for the season, sometimes we get to see a lot more riders who will be available to stop by, and they're just having a great time at that point because the pressure's off. So it's a great bucket list trip, and we even have non-rider spectator only packages. So if you're like me and don't think you can do some of the famed climbs from the Tour de France, because
not a chance for me right now.
You can actually get a special spectator only package where you're still getting that VIP access to be at those stage finish lines. We have a big party in Paris at the grand finale. There's not any riding involved there. It's just watching the final laps as the riders come through at the end. So it's just something to consider too if you just love watching the tour and don't necessarily want to ride some of those intense climbs. So great bucket list experiences. So speaking of the intensity of the riding, so we have trips for every rider level, whether you're a beginner cyclist or very avid. Each trip will be ranked on a scale of 1 through 4 in terms of difficulty. So 1 would be leisure level and 4 would be avid. But within, again, each day, you'll have 2 to 3 riding options to choose from. So I always say that you can step up or step down a rider level based on those different options each day. So for me, I'm definitely would categorize myself as a leisure level rider, but I have done recreational level trips all the time, just because there's, some days I'm feeling really good and I can ride the longer rides, and some days I'm just tired and want to do a short ride and go relax for the afternoon. So the other thing too is the e-bike can certainly help you move up a step in terms of the rider levels. The only trips that we don't allow the e-bike on would be our avid trips, just because of the nature of the riding. Some descents can be long and tricky and so with the added weight of the e-bike, it's just not very safe. So we can certainly let you know that if that's not going to be an option for the trip, and help you get directed to a trip that might be more appropriate.
Right. If you're not an expert, you're not going to, don't pretend to be one, right?
Exactly. And we do have some really great training programs available. We have a partnership with Zwift, which is a really cool technology, sort of like a virtual riding, like virtual reality world, where we can set you up, help you get an account. And if you have a trainer at home, if you're riding in the winter, we're based in the Midwest, so I don't ride outside about 6 months out of the year. It gives you sort of this really cool virtual ride, and we'll track your stats. And we have different training programs that you can do through Zwift. We have a company called Fit for Trips that can develop a more tailored training program for you based on where you're currently at and where you want to be for the trip. So we're there to help support you if you know, hey, I'm going to book this trip, a year out, and I know I'm a recreational rider now, but this is an active level trip and I really want to be able to complete all of the longer rides. We're there to help you, pick a great training program that will work to get you there by the time the trip happens.
So you can be in the best shape, ready for your trip.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome.
So to go over sort of what a typical day with Trek travel looks like. So starting in the morning, you'll always have breakfast right at the hotel. That's always included. And you'll meet by the bikes, usually around 8:30, 9 a.m., depending on what the weather's like. The guides will go over a safety talk for the day, as well as go over the different riding options and where your decision points will lie, so that you know exactly where the guides will be when. And so that will sort of kick off the day. You'll start on your sort of the shorter ride option for those who want to do that. Again, you'll stop for lunch, whether it's at doing a picnic in a really scenic location, or stopping at a bistro, maybe doing a wine tasting, or just going and exploring a great town where you're grabbing your own bite to eat. And then afterwards, again, you'll have either the option to go back to the hotel and relax. The guides are always happy to help you book spa appointments. So if you want to arrange that, they can help you decide what day would be best to do that based on the schedule of the trip. In the afternoon, you might be doing an included activity such as hiking or whitewater rafting, or doing a tour with a local guide. And then you'll have a social hour sometimes before sitting down for dinner with the group. So that's kind of just the typical day. But we always pride ourselves on being fun and flexible. So if you want to even take a day off the bikes and just go explore, the guides can assist if you want to set up a separate local guide for the day, or if you're just looking for recommendations on what to do, they're there to help with that. So whether you want to do an avid ride, take a day off, do a short ride, the idea is it's very flexible, and it's your vacation. So we're not obviously going to force you to ride at any point.
Awesome. So if they even wanted to just go off and do something on their own, like they wanted to go to a museum or something, they could set that up maybe in advance, or be flexible in the afternoon and go do that on their own.
Yep. And we'd give you recommendations in advance too from the office if there's, something that's a must see in the area that sells out in advance. Like the trip I think about is in New Mexico. There's a Georgia O'Keeffe museum that you can go to, and the tickets sell out way in advance. So at the time of booking, we always make sure to call that out so that if that is something that you want to do, we can give you a suggestion on what time to book that for and what day. So if there's something like that, that's a must see in the area that does sell out, we'll give you a heads up on that.
Awesome.
And then if you're thinking, hey, I've got a, bike club that I ride with every week, and how cool would it be to put together a group trip where we all travel together? We do have plenty of options for groups. The first option would be to join one of our public trips, and you do get a group discount as soon as you hit a group size of 6 or more. And we can offer to do a courtesy hold on a few rooms for typically a 2-week period of time to give you some time to get everybody booked. And then we also can do private trips, which would be if you wanted to take over an existing date that we had and just make it private to the group. And we do have set pricing based on the group size. So it hits the same public trip price once you hit a group size of 10 or more. But there's no minimum. We can have a private group for 2 people if you really wanted to. And then the last option would be custom, which would be if maybe there's a destination that we don't currently offer that you'd love to go to, or maybe you want to take the skeleton of one of our trips and make it your own. We do have a custom groups department as well that can put together an entirely customized trip for you. So tons of options to choose from. But if you have a smaller group size and are more concerned about budget, the public trips are great. But if you're really looking for, maybe it's your anniversary or some sort of milestone celebration that you want to bring your family and do it up big, you can do something that's more customized to you.
And I was just thinking, maybe have you done things like proposals on the way? And so you had like something waiting there to surprise.
Yes, we've helped arrange proposals. We've helped actually arrange weddings in Italy before. Wow. So there's a lot. If you can dream it, we can typically put it together. So, it never hurts to ask. If you think, oh, maybe they might not be able to do it, just let us know. We can see what we can do. And yeah, we love doing those big celebrations. And even if you're not doing a group trip, if you're going on one of these trips as a celebration trip, whether it's a birthday or anniversary, please let us know. Just because, we want to make sure to, make that trip really special for you. And we'll make a note for the guides just so that they're aware, so that they can, arrange something special for you on the trip.
Right. Awesome. So I think maybe we're at the question and answer.
Yeah. So that's all I really wanted to go over. So just to review again, the top 3 things I'd take away about Trek Travel is that, because of Trek Bikes, we do have the best bikes in the industry. We also guarantee our trips for the most part. The only exception for the guaranteed trips would be something like our race trips where we require a certain minimum to run them, but we'd obviously let you know if that was the case at the time of booking. And then the fact that we're an official operator for the Tour de France and arrange trips around all the pro races. So those are my big 3 takeaways. But if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Yeah, if you have any questions, type them and we'll try to answer those either live, or if you're watching the rebroadcast, we'll try to answer those also. One question I did have is, what's the typical average amount that goes on your trips?
Yeah, so our max group size is 20. Our average is usually somewhere between 10 to 14. And again, it depends on, the trip too. So So we have a lot of national park trips, and those are always a huge hit, no matter when. So whether it's in the fall or the summer, those always seem to, get close or do sell out. Sometimes our new trips that have a smaller number at first because we've just released them. So sometimes those can have a smaller group size. But again, we're always happy to provide the general demographic details about any date or destination that you're looking at. But that's about the average. Yeah.
So since we're based here in Utah, do you have trips here around the parks in Utah?
Yep. So we have 2 trips. One is combining Bryce and Zion. So that is a level 3 trip just because Bryce Canyon's at such a high elevation. There are some longer climbs in that area before you descend into Zion National Park. And then we have a Zion long weekend trip that would be 4 days, 3 nights. And that actually brings up another point. So most of our trips are going to be 6 days, 5 nights, and that's how long the Bryce and Zion trip would be. And I love the Zion long weekend trip, especially if you're looking to put a group together who's never done a cycling vacation before, just because it's a low time commitment. It's a Thursday through Sunday. So you don't have to take as many days off of work. And 3 of the 4 days are riding, but we do take 1 day completely off the bike to go do some great hikes. So we do include a hike through the Virgin River Narrows, and we provide all the necessary equipment for that because you do need special water shoes and neoprene socks, and we have a hiking stick as well. And then there's dry hiking options too if you'd rather not get wet. So to Angel's Landing or Observation Point. So it's just a great combination of both the cycling and the hiking, and it's a recreational level trip. So it's hilly, but it's nothing too strenuous or too steep. So it can cater to a pretty wide variety of rider levels as well.
Very cool. Another one that I'm just kind of wondering about is, do you do them through Yellowstone?
We do. Well, so we actually don't ride in Yellowstone just because it's so high trafficked. And I actually did that trip last year, but we do all the riding in Grand Teton National Park, and it's absolutely stunning. I mean, some of the best rides that I've ever done, and a majority of it is on a really nice bike path. And that's a level 2 trip as well, recreational level. But we do a full day trip into Yellowstone with 2 naturalist guides. And so you're in these really cool safari style vehicles that have an expandable roof that you can stand on the seats and take photos out of. So we had grizzly bear that was right next to the road that we were able to pull over. Wow. And since we were in the vehicle and not outside the vehicle, the park rangers let us snap the photos and stay there. So just a real.
I don't think I want to be on the bike going through there with the grizzly bear out there.
Yeah, but when we were biking in Grand Teton National Park, I mean, we had deer like within feet of us. We saw bald eagles, we saw moose. There's just so much wildlife, and every day we've got, when you're riding, you've got views of the Tetons, and it's just spectacular.
So what's the favorite bike trip that you've done?
I mean, Yellowstone's up there. I would say my close second would be our Croatia trip. I just love being by the sea. So each day's ride, I mean, we basically island hop on that trip. So you start in Dubrovnik, and then you go over to the islands of Korčula and Hvar, and then you end in Split. So you get to see a pretty wide variety of towns. But each day's ride, I was able to end with a dip in the sea because it was about 90 degrees when I was there. And so after a long day's ride on the bike,
what month was that?
That was in early September.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, but
that one sounds fabulous. That would be one that would really interest me. I'm a beach girl. I love the ocean.
Yeah, and I just love, and plus the mixture of that, and along with the culture, the people that we work with at the restaurants and the local tour guides that we include as part of the trip are just treat us like family. So it's just a neat cultural experience, and the food and the wine blew me away too, which I didn't really think about wine as being like a highlight of Croatia, but it was delicious. So great mixture of everything.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, I think that's about it for today. unless you have anything else you want to add.
I was just going to say, so
great.
as far as booking goes, we typically require a $750 deposit per person to confirm your spot when you're outside 90 days. And Krista can take care of all the booking for you. But if you have any specific bike-related questions or questions about the riding difficulty, I mean, we obviously don't expect Krista to be a cycling expert herself, although she is certainly a wealth of knowledge. But you can feel free to contact us with those questions, and we'll keep Krista in the loop there. But she can take care of everything from booking pre-nights to your flights, to any other additional travel that you might want to piece together around the Trek travel trip. So it's just a great resource to be able to take care of everything in one go. Very cool.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. So you can contact us at wasatchtravel.com. If you want to send me an email, my email is Krista, Krista, at wasatchtravel.com, or give us a call at 435-709-8656. And then again, if you missed the beginning, go to wasatchtravel.com, and on our homepage, enter the trip giveaway, which is 3 nights in Maui at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. And that will be on the mailing list. And at the end of the year, we'll draw one person for the trip. So make sure you're on our mailing list there. Again, Lindsay, thank you so much. This has been awesome, and we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. We would love to host you guys on a trip. And if you have any questions too, our website just to check out our trips is just www.trektravel.com.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.